Dominic Cruz was the original Bantamweight champion and never lost that title in a fight. He was stripped of that title because of inactivity, because of a series of ridiculously unfortunate injuries.
My name is Triple C, Olympic champion, flyweight champion of the world, and now Bantamweight champion of the world.
For all my ladies out there that are avid fans like me, we have the network for you. That's right. The ladies of Unwrapped are here, and you can follow us at the ladies of USN, brought to you by Unwrapped Sports, and stay tuned for Unwrapped This panels. The natural born killer himself, Carlos Condit, uses rxhemp.com CBD products for recovery, and it just so happens that Unwrapped Sports has a new partnership with RX Hemp. We are giving away 4 CBD creams. That's right, warm therapy and cold therapy out for you guys throughout the month of August. So please follow at Unwrapped Sports and also at Fights Unwrapped. For my BJ enthusiasts out there, if you want to play a game to further your in-depth analysis and knowledge of BJJ, I have the game for you. It's called Grapple App. If you have Google Play on Android, Grapple App, the Jiu-Jitsu game, pretty much the world's first in-depth tactical Jiu-Jitsu game, and still the only one till this day. They cover No-Gi Jiu-Jitsu and Luta Libre as well, so please check that out. For my MMA practitioners out there, please check out HKA USA, an amazing MMA gear company. They offer everything from gloves, shins, pads, and much more. And for the month of August, they're offering a great deal. $100, you get both the gloves and the shins. That's a savings of $60. So go and register on the website and get some high quality MMA to train. All right. Okay. Welcome, everyone. I know I didn't really promote this today just because it was a little bit last minute, probably like a day. But today is a special, special day for me and my co-host, Alpha Man MMA. It's our 2-month anniversary, and I'm not going to, show what we got each other just because I know he probably will in the stream. But welcome to Quarantine Love. This is a special show today. This is our UFC divisional breakdown. We're doing the bantamweight division because I was thinking about myself and I was like, you know what? What's a good present to give to my significant other? Well, he absolutely loves the bantamweight division. It's his favorite division, and pretty much we could probably have a 7 to 10 hour stream talking about it. But I figured on our 2-month anniversary, we are going to break down the bantamweight division. We're going to do the top 5. As well as, obviously, we got to talk about Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera, as well as, some of the OGs like TJ Dillashaw and Dominic Cruz, and maybe Uriah Faber, we might have him in there as well. So I have everything on a really great Tuesday month anniversary. I have my favorite thing in the world, which is ramen. Obviously, my co-host, MMA, is also my significant other. He'll be joining. And, his favorite thing is the bantamweight division. So, hi.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, man. Y'all don't understand.
Here we
this
go.
is so exciting. I'm so excited. Here we go. First of many
Ah,
months in the stream. So
first of
want
a
to
thousand.
Oh yeah, exactly. In this condensed period of time. Welcome everybody. Like I said, this is
Mm.
our Quarantine Love UFC divisional breakdown, Bantamweight division edition because of my significant other, and that today is our 2-month anniversary. So, babe, I know this is pretty much the rest of the show is gonna be all you. So I'm just gonna sit here.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
And away you go. So obviously this was kind of our idea, but I know this is mainly for you. So go ahead, start talking.
Okay. All right. Oh, this division is like
This is gonna be so
stacked. It's like
interesting.
okay. So most recently, obviously Henry Cejudo, the double champion. He retired and he vacated the bantamweight belt, leaving Jose Aldo to fight Peter Yan for the vacant belt. And obviously, Peter Yan was able to dominate that fight. Not with some adversity, but he was able to beat Jose Aldo, and I believe he stopped him in the fourth round. And from there, we had the birth of a brand new champion. And this is pretty much the rankings as of right now. So we got just look at this, look at all those names, look at all of that talent in one division.
Yo,
That's crazy.
My bae right here, he like spent the last 2 days making this. So obviously, shout outs to you, credits to you, because that looks way more
I know, yeah.
professional. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, it does. This is stacked. There's so much talent in one division, and this isn't even everybody. So the ones that aren't in the top 15 are Uriah Faber, who may or may not, compete again. Obviously, Marlon Vera, who just fought, Ricky Simone, and Frankie Edgar, who's going to be moving down. And that list was also not including the former champion TJ Dillashaw, whose suspension will be up in January 2021. So really excited to see him get back in there. So right now it's pretty much we're gonna just break down the top 5 for right now. And so first things first, the champion. Who is the champion gonna defend his belt against next? And there's obviously just one answer to that. Can Aljamain Sterling get his freaking title shot? Like, what more does a man have to do? Like seriously,
Dana, she follows me, right? I'm like, please, if you're listening to the stream, I'm serious. I was like, we're gonna plead the case, okay, for Aljo, because he's coming for that ass. He's coming for that title. Okay, look at that. Look at that.
He finished Corey Sandhagen quick. He just ran through him.
All right, can I like interject just a little bit, because basically,
please do.
Fight, right? As impressive as it was, after this fight, that's me and you, and obviously a bunch of hardcore fans out there, probably thought that Aljamain Sterling was gonna get the title shot against Peter Yan. Well, like the vacant bantamweight title, okay? And then all comes like freaking Jose Aldo, which I 100% respect, but I respect him in the featherweight division because he's actually done work in featherweight. No, he decides, I'm going to get a controversial loss to Marlon Moraes, and then I'm going to get the title shot because my name is Jose Aldo. You pretty much join like the fighters just like call it home, that pretty much get a title shot whenever they want because their fan base is like really big. So this fight is actually like, it feels like a long time coming because it should have been that during Fight Island. That should have been like 100%. So
for sure,
I'm a little pissed at that. Here's my thing. I don't know because I don't know what slides you have, babe, because you have like 70. Like, no joke. You have about 70 slides, but I want to go and actually look at Aljamain Sterling's past opponents because like you said, what more can a man have to do to like get a title shot? Like Corey Sandhagen.
I'll bring up his shirt, dog.
Sorry, babe.
I'll bring up his shirt, dog.
Okay, Corey Sandhagen is number 4, right? So he knocked out number 4, and then you think about the other people in that division. Like Cody Garbrandt, he just came back. Okay, we're gonna talk about him later. Marlon Moraes is technically number 1. Technically.
Oh yeah, we are.
UFC rankings. Pedro Munoz is literally number 5. He has a fight coming up this Saturday. So I'm looking at like Aljamain Sterling's. Like, look, he beats Corey Sandhagen, Pedro Munoz. Those are 2 top 5 opponents. Jimmy Rivera, Cody Sandman, and like pretty much those guys are in the top 10 or something like that, right? Top 10, top 20. Yeah. So you beat number 4. You beat number 5. You yourself, I believe, are number 2. Cody just came back. What more does he have to do? What, fight more ass? Like, no, man.
What more?
Yeah, Mariah's like what he came off like a win against Aldo. That was very, very split. You know, that to me, if I was Dana White, I was like, that's not okay. I'm gonna think about this as a business perspective. That's not, super exciting, kind of thing. Mariah's is a draw, but I think that if he had one more fight, then he would have, faced for the title, whatever happens to the title. But no, Aljamain Sterling he's up in the air, and I'm like, what do you mean he's up in the air? Like, I don't understand how these rankings. I don't understand how like the matchmaking works because trying to think right now. The only other explanation I have for this is like UFC being UFC and like thinking about the business part of it. Be like, who is like like we have the Conor McGregor's, the Sugar Sean O'Malley's, like people that they want up there in the rise. Maybe they want like Peter Yan. Maybe they obviously want Cody Garbrandt, perhaps.
Maybe they want to wait for TJ.
Yeah, that's too long. That division is so stacked that you can't stop like the bantamweight division. Like literally, the top 20 are so active. Every single fight, like, every single pay-per-view, right? So I don't know, man. Maybe I don't know
stylistically.
Yeah.
So let's get away from the politics a little bit, and stylistically, how do you see this fight going?
Oh man, I don't know why. I should have probably thought about this a little bit more.
So I guess I'll go first. Honestly, we know that pretty much Aljo, Peter Yan, and Marlon Moraes are the top 3 right now. So Marlon Moraes obviously fought Aljamain Sterling already and knocked him out in like the very first round. So I don't know. I just feel like Aljamain, he's gotten better, but I still see Peter Yan just being on a whole nother level. Like there's no way that Aljamain is going to be able to run through him in the grappling like he did to Corey Sandhagen. Because like Peter Yan's grappling is up there too. He's got amazing defense. Yeah, so I don't know. In my opinion, I see Peter Yan defending the belt against Aljamain if this fight were to happen.
I just thought of something. Yeah. Okay. Good. Babe. You started off right now. Now my context is coming back. So I'm gonna say this, and I hope many people agree because I hope that many people actually follow both of these two careers. Aljamain so much better. Like the last couple of years, he has become like such a threat to that division. And proved a lot of people wrong. The only thing before it was his freaking Fortnite dances that many people thought were impressive. Now it's also his game. Now for me, the reason why I picked Peter Yan to actually win that fight is because no offense, Aljamain Sterling, like I think you're so entertaining. I think you're so cool with your fans, but Peter Yan's a smarter fighter. Let's just be honest right now. Fight IQ wise, Peter Yan has it. It is not just because I think his boxing is so much better or like that. He has takedown defense. He is a patient fighter. He's a smart fighter. He has a chin on him. It's gonna be hard to really knock him down. Let's just be honest, okay? And I think that Aljamain, as much as he's so impressive to me, especially that last victory against Corey Sandhagen, I don't think he's that much of a smarter fighter. I don't think he's as patient. Peter Yan hit 6 shots, and he obviously, it's a little scary. He waited until the last couple of rounds, but like I predicted, obviously, Aldo got tired. Aldo was nonstop, those body shots and those kicks, and that could actually happen. Aljamain Sterling might just go in for the kill because he should. He has to be the aggressor. At the same time, I don't think that Peter Yan's going to be easily hit. I don't think he's going to be easily rocked. And I think he's the smarter fighter at the end of the day. So I think Champ is going to become champ once again. So it's going to be end still. But obviously, I don't know. We're kind of foreshadowing something that might not even happen. I'm not trying to get my hopes up.
Most likely it will happen. Most likely. So for now, just for the sake of this stream, let's assume that it will. And so up next, we obviously got so Aljamain Sterling should be next, and he's obviously number 2. So that goes back to the number 1 contender, Marlon Moraes. So apparently he's supposed to be matched up against Corey Sandhagen, and this fight is not official yet. It's still in the work. But let's assume that this fight does happen. How do you see this fight going? I think this is a good matchup. This is number 1 versus number 4, and it's a good fight for Marlon Moraes to get back up in the mix and be next in line for the title shot should he beat Corey Sandhagen. So stylistically, how do you see this fight going?
Well, the first thing I think of when it comes to Corey Sandhagen is obviously his height and his reach advantage. He's a tall, lanky motherfucker, just like Sean O'Malley is. And I think about that, I was like, okay, well, he can distance himself very well in the octagon. He's obviously really fast. He's how do you say it? He's like someone like Sugar Sean O'Malley or someone like Ryan Garcia that like they're not like the strongest people. They don't kind of thing, and he has like that power in him to knock someone down. So that's obviously
Yeah.
something that I considered a long time ago when I started like analyzing Corey Sandhagen. Now Marlon Moraes like super fast, one of the fastest in my opinion in that division. Like leg kicks galore, his striking's impeccable. He's just like a flurry. Like he comes at you and then you just kind of get rocked, and then he comes back out and then he comes back, into your, he closes that distance so well. So I don't know, from based on experience wise, I would definitely go with Marlon Moraes, but I love Corey Sandhagen. That whole matchup with Aljamain, I did not expect that upset in that fast manner. Like freaking Aljamain was on his back, like real fast. So if they keep it standing up, it's going to be interesting because I would want to see Moraes like close that distance really well. I think he will. I think he's the more powerful fighter, but at the same time, like I don't know. After getting defeated like that, Corey Sandhagen, I don't know how he's gonna like bounce back. He was one of those people that many like the UFC wanted to kind of like go on the rise with, similar to Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
They paired him up with originally it was Frankie Yeager, I believe, and someone else. So I think that he is definitely someone to watch out for. Do I think he's gonna win that fight? I don't know. I guess like his last fight really like kind of just made me realize like he's not as well rounded as I thought he was, because like Aljamain took total advantage of that on the floor, right? So I think overall Marlon Moraes is the better fighter, and we talk about everything from who's more well rounded, who has obviously the experience, he's fought the best of the best, so far, and his ground game is way better than Corey Sandhagen. So, I'm kind of leaning towards Moraes in this one, but I could be wrong because it's Corey Sandhagen, right?
So, in my opinion, I see Marlon Moraes finishing Corey Sandhagen just as fast as Aljamain certainly finished him. I think that him, Aljo, and Peter Yan are just on the top of the division right now. Those guys are just on another level compared to everybody else, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's how I see it going. So, I think that's a really fun matchup. It's number 1 versus number 4. So, with that being that, so we got number 1, 2, and 4, and the champion being busy, assuming that all those fights happen. So, up next, that leaves number 3, Konola Garbrandt, who is actually going to be busy fighting for the flyweight championship against Figgy. So, and I know that you've had your opinions on his move to flyweight, and you think that he's ducking the rest of the bantamweight division. So, before we talk about the matchup itself, let's talk about the politics. So, personally, I believe that he thinks that getting the flyweight belt will be a sort of a shortcut to grant him a title shot at 135 should he beat him. And I think that him being a fighter, he has an ego, and he thinks that he could easily defeat Figgy and make the weight, because I don't think that he's afraid to fight someone like Peter Yan. He's obviously like he's been avid about fighting him. Obviously they had this little scuffle. So I don't think that he's sort of like afraid to fight the champion. I think that he just honestly thinks that he could get sort of like a shortcut to it. But I don't know if you want to reiterate your thoughts on it. I know that you were pretty like negative about the fight and his move to flyweight.
Yeah. Okay, so all my biases aside, he has to drop 20 pounds. Okay, like let's just be honest. This is the facts. I'm not talking from someone who doesn't like him. It's just the fact that he has to drop that weight. And from experience, from seeing TJ, right? Obviously, well, that's a delicate situation because he cheated. But you know what I mean? Like just trying to drop that weight, seeing Aldo drop that weight, it's not looking good. Like we talked about this. If he's gonna lose that weight, I can see where it's gonna come from. It's gonna come from his legs. It's gonna come from his midsection. It's gonna sink his cheeks in really, really, really small, and you're just gonna see like a lot of bones and like not even any body fat. So, for that alone, I'm already like that should be the number one concern that many people have.
Totally agree.
Right. So and a lot of people do have the botched weight cuts. A lot of weight cut methods are very, very dangerous. So do I have faith that Cody's gonna like lose that weight in a really healthy manner? No, because look what happened to TJ. Look what happened to Aldo. Kind of thing that looked really, really scary. So Like, let's
Yeah.
just say I'm expecting those kind of photos to pop up closer to this fight. I think that you say that he's not afraid to fight Peter Yan. Well, I wouldn't say he should be afraid to fight Peter Yan, but he should definitely be aware, like, because Peter Yan's no joke.
Yeah.
He's a freaking savage. Cody, like, the one thing that I personally, before I guess my whole like opinion of him started to change, was my opinion started to change about him, not because I didn't think he was a great fighter, it's because I knew he was a stupid fighter. And like, I'm sorry to be blunt, but that showed in his record. Let's just be honest. He got the belt, and that was really impressive. But like, obviously you're gonna show a clip of like Dominic Cruz saying that Cody was pretty much breaded to beat him because the entire camp, had like pretty much 30 rounds against Dominic Cruz. So like, obviously that was impressive, right? That was it felt like his birthright, like going into Team Alpha Male, was to do that.
Yeah.
However, like I said, I don't really care too much about getting the belt because that's one fight. If you can't defend it properly, then what kind of champion am I supposed to see as? And I feel like after he got the belt, either it's motivation, either it's like some type of like ego thing, so he decided like, oh, I'm the best, so I don't really have to try as much. I don't know what it is. Okay, obviously he took a sabbatical, now he's back. I get, now maybe he realizes that there's like a whole different like ballpark when it comes to the bantamweight division. The top 5 are hungry, like they're definitely active, and he probably knows that. He's not stupid. And so I think that this is like a really big risk for him, and I'm all about taking risks, but this is a really, really big one, because it's not like you're going down there to fight some nobody. You're fighting Davison Figueiredo, and again, biases aside, he's amazing. Okay, all around, he has the striking game. He is so smart, also in the octagon, which is one of the things that I personally I don't have much faith in Cody, only because I don't think he's as smart. He's more patient, but you've seen Figgy fight, like especially who was it? Joe Benavidez 2 times. He was very, very like just kind of like, I'm waiting for my shots, and I eventually got him down, and I pretty much like opened him up, and he looked like he was the Passions of Christ, like on the ground, which broke my heart to say the least. But Biggie is not a dumb fighter, and Cody, I don't care if you're as patient now. It's only been one fight. I have to see you fight, more. I'm like, okay, so after the interview, the only reason I'm bringing up the politics of it, because I'm trying to figure out what the hell his motivations are. The politics of it is that after the interview, after that fight, he says he wants to stay in bantamweight. At least, like, I can pull up the post-fight conference right now. He says he's back. He says that there's a new fire in him. Whatever. Okay, that's fine. Those are all words at the end of the day.
Cody 2.0.
Right. Yeah, that's the assumption, right now. But actions speak louder than words, and he decided like, oh, maybe I want to stay in bantamweight, but how am I gonna make my mark when all these these top 5, let alone the top 10, are coming after that belt, right? Coming after Peter Yan. So like you said, like maybe it is a shortcut, but does that look good on him? Here's the thing: usually when you do a shortcut, you think that you're going to like have the advantage. I don't think he has the advantage. Clearly, weight cut.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
Davison Figueiredo overall is the better fighter. Like, we're not talking about different weight class. I'm saying
in
terms of like being well rounded, he is the better fighter. Like, he has everything on the ground going for him.
He's more well rounded, but better fighter is debatable. We'll see. Well,
it's debatable, but you can't say Cody is, because Cody just came back, and Cody, from my last 2 fights that I saw him, he was not the better fighter. Okay, so that's what I want. The consistency of like, let's just see what happens, and whatever. What day is it going to be? November? Yeah,
21st.
Yeah. So that's my spiel on it. So like, all biases aside, I'm going based on his like records and his last few fights. So I gotta see what happens to make an educated decision. Okay.
So for the matchup itself, I also think it's a fun fight. 2 heavy power punches, and obviously I am gonna root for Cody because I'm a huge fan, obviously. But I do think that Figgy should be the favorite, considering that he is a natural flyweight, unlike Cody. And obviously, the main concern for all fans is obviously, the weight cut. We've already seen TJ Dillashaw attempt to fight at 125, and he sucked and drained his body completely, all the way to the point where he couldn't even properly compete. So, which led to Henry Cejudo basically just running him over in 30 seconds. So naturally, as fans, we would be worried about, seeing Cody trying to attempt to do this as well. But as a fan, I'm going to choose to believe in Cody and believe that he's going to get this done. And
Well, you should.
yeah,
You should.
so
You're a fan of the bantamweights, anyways. Let's just, that's why we're doing
yeah,
this stream. Anyone does not know, we're doing the stream on the fly. It's the Quarantine Love UFC Divisional Breakdown Bantamweight edition. Pretty much for my significant other, because he's been talking about bantamweights ever since we started talking in general. So I figured this is the perfect day to actually talk about them in depth. So I believe, I'm not gonna say that Cody's not gonna win, but I have to see the weight cut. I have to see
yeah,
like where his head's at, because the it's just I just don't know. Okay, like that's my whole thing.
yeah.
I just don't know at the end of the day. So we'll see.
Am I still lagging, by the way?
You're better, I think.
Okay, let me know if it gets worse. Okay.
Okay, babe.
And so yeah, this was some of the some of the trash talk that was going on back and forth. So Figgy was saying that it would be unfair if he got a title shot because he would want him to see if Cody could make the weight first at 125, and then Cody pretty much like called him out for being an idiot because Figgy couldn't even make weight in his own weight class, so he shouldn't be saying that someone else can't make weight. So that was like the funniest thing I've ever seen.
I'm gonna say something that I know I've said to you, and this is really out of my character. So, what Cody said was something like that hit hard home for me, because I remember when Figgy didn't make weight for the most important matchup of his life, which was the Benavidez #1. I was livid. I already didn't like Figgy, right? And the fact that he decides to botch this weight. Hold on, I'm gonna bring this up. Figgy actually had a whole weight cut regimen before. That's why he always made the flyweight weight. Then on that day, for that camp, he decides to do something different. It's already in the books, okay? You can listen to what his manager said. I'm not even joking, so I'm actually going to defend Cody's point a little bit, okay? Because, so wait a second, it's not like you use the same methods to cut weight. You actually try to do something new for the most important matchup of your life. You should be focusing on the camp and not, like, obviously trying to figure out a new way to like lose the weight or something like that, right? So for that reason, and for that reason alone, like, obviously, Cody, you got a point there. I've always been against that whole, like, people were saying, oh, he won, he's the new champ. Like, no, he's not. On paper, he didn't make weight, right? So, and that's the truth. And so he had to do another one. He had to do another fight against Benavidez, run it back, and then he became a legitimate champ. But after that, obviously Davison Figueiredo, with that ego of his own and with that stupid management that he has, said that, oh, he's technically the champ. I'm like, no, you're not. I'm sorry. You decide to botch like the most important weight cut of your life, pretty much, and you're saying that you're champ. No, you had to wait a couple of months, and like for me, that he felt like so entitled to say like, oh yeah, let me fight Benavidez again. Like, first of all, okay, I love Joseph Benavidez. You ruined him, okay, in the first fight. You should have technically, in my opinion, faced someone else, but there was technically not many people you can choose from. That's the only reason. I swear. Okay, if Benavidez was not the only person, like, what I mean, the top 5 that was worthy of that title, he should be fighting someone else and not someone who he just ruined, like, the first time around and beat. So, like, for that reason though, I'm gonna give that to Cody. Now, but at the same time, Figueiredo has a point. Obviously, we are all concerned about Cody's method of weight cut, come November, right? So, and that's the easiest thing to, like, kind of bitch at on Twitter, right? And so, Cody, I'll give you that. That was definitely the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, who the hell just tries to do something new on the most important day, like, of your life? He was supposed to be champion that day. Imagine if he did make that weight, he would have been champion. We would have had maybe another fight, pending if there's actually any suitors, okay, in the flyweight division. So for that reason alone, I will give this one to Cody Garbrandt. I know this is a very weird stream. This is a very weird day. Maybe because it's our 2 months or something. I'm being nice right now, but I told you I'm not being biased today.
Yeah. So going back to Cody real quick, obviously, he's coming off a huge highlight reel KO against Rafael Assunção. Man, that was just beautiful. Oh, that was
There
just
you go,
like he
another
just
grunt.
murdered that man. Oh, they're coming later. Once we start talking about TJ, oh, that's when they come.
I know you
Yeah,
have a little
so
bit of controversy, babe, because not a lot of people like TJ for a reason that he
I know.
popped EPO, so and rightfully so.
Yeah.
So, all right, Cody
So
Garbrandt.
going back to Cody, so obviously before this, he's 1-3 in his last four. So he when he got the title, he was on like a really good run. Like he was undefeated. Up until he defended his belt, and then since then he had three horrible losses. So what do you think? Like, in your opinion, like what was the main cause of that? Do you think it was just a lack of discipline, just a lack of like training like he used to, and motivation? So like, what are your thoughts on like what led to him
Okay,
going on that little skid after going on a great run to get the title?
okay, so I'm gonna bring up Cody's record, okay, for the last
Hmm.
couple of fights. Okay,
Okay.
I'm not gonna discredit a Sun Cell, but if you look at like the type of competition that Cody fought, which obviously he fought the best of the best at the time, he lost to Pedro Munoz. That was very very surprising to me. Very very surprising.
Hmm.
Like this is Cody. I like before like when he won the belt and like before that I was like I thought he was an amazing brawler, striker. He was so fast. I didn't see that coming. Like Pedro Munoz at the time wasn't like top five. Maybe he was, but he wasn't like on the rise, in my opinion. And then losing to TJ Dillashaw, I mean, like TJ, in my opinion, is a better overall fighter. He has a weird stance on him. Like it's hard to really catch him, just like how Dominic Cruz is. So like losing to those three, and then you come back. I get it. You come back. You gotta fight someone like in the top 20 or something like that. So they give you Rafael Assunção. I was surprised, okay, because usually like when Dominic Cruz comes back, he fights for the title, but he's Dominic Cruz. However, Cody Garbrandt is Cody Garbrandt. A lot of people think he's a draw. He is a draw. So I was very very surprised that they gave him like Rafael Sansa. Maybe because they gave him that. Maybe because like how I talked about certain fighters that the UFC really likes, and so they're gonna like push them towards like success. Maybe Cody Garbrandt is one of those people. Wouldn't be surprised. He's a draw. So maybe that's the reason why they gave him a Sansa. I think the reason why he lost after he won against Dominic Cruz is because sometimes when you have the belt, your ego like it just skyrockets. So I just feel like he probably thought that he defeated the best. The best. I mean, well, you lost to TJ, so that he was the best at the time as well. So you can't really say that. I think that like if you look at Cody's other opponents, like he was on a tear. He didn't lose. The first time he lost was
Yeah.
against TJ, right? And
Hmm.
I think that and TJ beat him. I believe it was a TKO as well both times. So
Yeah.
and I think I told Mark and Steve on the For the Love of the Game podcast yesterday that sometimes when you get knocked out or you get like you lose for the first time, sometimes you're not the same fighter, and maybe that's my whole reason. I think that's the reason why Cody wasn't the same after, because it does something to a man's ego. So someone who hasn't lost in a
Yeah.
long time, I think that was the reason why his motivation wasn't the same as it was. Like his ego was still there, but I don't know. It's a subconscious, psychological, mental warfare game with yourself when you lose, especially to someone that you absolutely can't stand. Like those two, TJ Dillashaw and like Cody Garbrandt, they can't stand each other. Regardless of them, like giving each other respect in the octagon, they still can't stand each other. I think like losing that, and like Cody poured like literally all his emotion and his heart, in that octagon. Outside of that, during tough as well, being a coach. And so I think like all of that and like losing to someone like that you absolutely can't stand 2 times in a row, it definitely does something to you. Happened with Daniel Cormier losing to John Jones 2 times too, right? So
Hmm.
I think that's the reason. I think losing to TJ and like having that to be like one of your first losses in a long time definitely did something, because like he can't stand him at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
that's my assessment. I think I'm pretty right about it, just because I haven't
Hmm.
seen like Cody be like so defeated after that loss, the first one to
Yeah.
TJ, right? So it's like I get it. Like, and I was not a Cody Garbrandt fan at the time. I was definitely harping on him, like, losing. But I can understand, like, when you spend so much time like hating someone. It's not even because of your fight camp. It's beyond that. It's the fact that you mentally. I think that he spent so much time obsessing over TJ, so much time.
Yeah,
It was so
a
obvious.
lot. Yeah,
And so his efforts were like it's like he got sidetracked. He should be focusing on how to beat him, and he should know how to beat him because Team Alpha Male was TJ's gym as well back then, right? We actually think about it.
hmm
So I think he got
yeah,
sidetracked. I think
former teammates.
he spent too much time thinking about obsessing about hating over TJ. So I think that he kind of just went astray mentally, and that's the reason why.
Yeah. So just a quick sidetrack, just a random point. Who do you think was the better rivalry, TJ versus Cody or Uriah versus Dom?
It's always gonna be Uriah versus Dom to me. It's an OG thing.
Mm.
Yeah, they were rivals for
Mm.
longer than Cody and TJ were. So for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that rivalry was
Personally,
still.
my favorite is TJ Cody. But yeah,
Well,
that
here's
was an
the
amazing one.
thing. I mean, like, yeah, because that's quite heated, and I think in like the span of like looking back at everything, when I was analyzing the fight coming up, like I was definitely leaning towards TJ. Obviously they both were amazing fighters back then, but it's just TJ like mentally was there. Okay, I'm sorry, man. Cody was like. He was like the obsessive, jealous ex-girlfriend or something like that. Like that's what Cody reminded me of. Like, cause he just kept harping on him like so much, and
Yeah.
you focus on your goddamn camp. Like I get it, you hate him, okay? You choke him out and tough or whatever. That's fine. But the real test is that you're gonna lose your freaking title, and you did. Afterwards. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
he couldn't get it back in the rematch. Kind of shows me who's the more mature fighter. Back then it was definitely TJ. TJ had his head on straight, and I think I would love to see both of them kind of run it back because it's a dude kind of Cody is a dude. TJ's coming back too, so both of them actually if you look at it, they're both coming off sabbaticals. TJ because he decided to cheat, and Cody because he had to get his head on straight. So I would love one day to see them kind of fight again, and there's actually a possibility for them to fight again. You just never know in the future. You never know with bantamweight, man. You really don't. So speaking of which, speaking of you just never know. Uriah Faber is coming in and out of the UFC as well, right? So you never know. He's back fighting. Is he not back fighting? We'll see.
Mm.
There you go.
Yeah, he had one of the best rivalries against Dominic Cruz. They had 3 fights. They were all amazing.
So
that's definitely the OG one.
You got the California Kid versus the Dominator. That's the OG classic rivalry. I'll never forget that.
Mm-hmm. So finishing up on Cody. So obviously, talked about this before, where Dominic went on the JRE and pretty much described how Team Alpha Male, like we were saying earlier, just bred Cody since he was young to pretty much be the Dominic Cruz destroyer because he was a champion for so long, so he was the benchmark for the entire division for so long. So they pretty much made Cody Garbrandt. They got him as a young kid to pretty much make him the machine that's going to destroy Dominic's style. That's why we've seen Dominic Cruz lose before. Obviously, he lost against Henry Cejudo, but he's never been absolutely picked apart like the way Cody did. Cody just absolutely dismantled him in every part of the fight. It was even more impressive that he didn't just knock him out in the first round. He just picked him apart through all 5 rounds, and he made it look easy. And we've never seen anybody come close to doing that to Dom. But that's the thing. Since then, Cody hasn't had a performance like that or anything near a performance like that on anybody. But that's the thing. It's because it seems like he was just meant to destroy Dominic Cruz's style. And that's super interesting because that's very true. And Dominic Cruz being the super smart guy that he is, he's able to point that out and realize that. So yeah, do you think that's obviously you've told me that you believe what Nick is saying, and yeah, so what are your thoughts on that?
So I guess when we're talking about Dominic Cruz going on the Joe Rogan show and talking about his losses and talking about his loss to Cody Garbrandt, I think after seeing Cody lose his belt, after winning it against Dominic Cruz. It makes me think to myself that maybe that's just all he's gonna be good at, is beating Dominic Cruz, because of the fact that you said he was
Yeah.
he was the only. I just think it feels like from birth he was his destiny was to beat Dominic Cruz, and it definitely happened. Babe, you like it a little bit, okay? What was I gonna say? But yeah, I think that it felt like the only thing that he was good at was to beat Dominic Cruz. That was the top of his game. He couldn't beat anybody else at the top, and it felt like it because he lost to TJ, and losing to Pedro Munoz. That was kind of okay, well now you're taking a step back, because TJ, no offense, is on another level.
Yeah.
And then,
Am I now? By the way.
That's better. Yeah, that's better, babe. Okay, so.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm. So that's
Okay.
I just think that Dominic is so freaking insightful, and that's what makes him an amazing analyst. Outside of obviously training and fighting, he's a technician inside the octagon. But seeing him and his insights and his perspectives as an analyst, obviously makes me respect him more. Obviously I'm a huge Dominic Cruz fan. I've been a fan I don't know, for more than 10 years now. And what happened to him was so unfortunate, but he decided to embrace it instead of obviously bitch about it. And we'll see if he comes back. We don't know yet because there's no word on him. Fighting after he lost to Cejudo. But I think that Cody.
Yeah.
Garbrandt,
So we'll touch on. Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say Cody Garbrandt can learn a little bit about from Dominic Cruz in terms of being more mature. At least I want to see that maturity. Yeah. In Cody Garbrandt going forward, I think that will serve him well. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll go back to Dominic Cruz in a little bit, but I'm just gonna play the JRE clip where he explains what happened.
I just want to face the winner of those two. I think that he had a good night. They had like I said, I've fought at camp how many times, man? Legitimately, if you had to break down, if you went back and looked at tape, you could probably break down 30 rounds with me in that camp. That means they have all those reads on me through the years. And then Cody started out watching me in junior high school. And then the way I look at it is he's the one guy who could implement it because he looked up to the guys that wanted to beat me as they are the shit. So it took down the ego from him and allowed him to learn from the best guys that I fought and really take in that information and use it. Whereas you give a guy like Faber or TJ information, and I guarantee you it's in one ear out the other. They already know everything.
Do you don't think TJ's learning a lot from Dwayne?
He is now, but I'm talking about then.
Okay.
In that camp. And I think that Cody was just like a sponge for these guys because he was young. And so he came up in that camp as a youngster, and nothing those guys could say to him would be wrong. And so that made him very effective with what he's doing today. And then he's built his style to be the champion, which was me.
I think a big fact.
So yeah, obviously Dom is super insightful and incredibly smart, to point that out. But yeah, that's incredibly true that they got him when he was really young, and that's why he was pretty much the guy that they made from scratch to beat his style. So yeah, anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. So
when it comes to that.
I'm not going to talk about Cody. I'm going to talk about Dom a little bit because I just realized that I always thought of Dom as the more mature fighter. Ego aside, that doesn't mean that he's not mature. But his last fight against Cejudo, we watched that actually a couple of days ago before making the stream, and I understand not agreeing with the an early stoppage. But, usually I'm so used to Dominic Cruz being a very, very classy, mature guy. Obviously after that, he was a really, really bad sport. Obviously making accusations, to Keith Peterson. It doesn't matter how you think about Keith Peterson, you just don't do that. And so it's just, I think that for Dominic Cruz, at this point of his life, after going through a lot of injuries and pretty much shaving 7 years off his career, I think that kind of caught up to him in that fight, and you could definitely see that he's not as he's not the Dominic Cruz in my opinion, after the fight for sure that I'm used to seeing.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting. Everybody's up in the air. Everybody's up in the air, including Dominic Cruz. So I don't know what's gonna happen with him.
Yeah. So
I think at the
yeah.
end of the day, you just have to be unbiased and like look at it. Like
Mm.
I understand. I'm a Cruz fan, but if you're not a Cruz fan, you're gonna think
Yeah.
he's an asshole and like things like that. Like you have to like. I step back from it and I'm like, you know what? I think there's other things in play here. Like I
For
think
sure.
that I don't know, man. Maybe it's a midlife crisis or something like that for Dominic Cruz. It could be something like that, but he definitely needed that win. Cejudo didn't need anything.
Yeah.
Cejudo's beating everybody. Like he's defended both belts, right?
Mm.
So.
Yeah, so I've got my own opinions on that too, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. So just to finish up with the rankings in the top five, lastly, that leaves number 5, Pedro Munoz, who's actually is also busy, and he's going to be welcoming the former 145er Frankie Edgar to the bantamweight division. It's
Yeah.
actually going to be this Saturday, August 27th, which we will also be covering. So for now, let's just talk about the matchup. So obviously, I'm biased because Pedro Munoz is a bantamweight, and I like all bantamweights, and also more so because he gave my coach his black belt. So I'm like gonna be super biased for Pedro. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Frankie Edgar? I mean, obviously Frankie Edgar's Frankie Edgar. I think Frankie should have been fighting 135 this whole time. So I expect him to be 100%, and he can most definitely win this fight. But I'm going to be siding with Pedro on this one. But what are your thoughts on that?
I think that Frankie Edgar, I met him in person. He's as sweet as can be. Same person inside and outside the octagon.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he hasn't looked the same, and I get that because featherweight, which is usually how he fights, is a really stacked division as well, like so many. Yeah, he lost obviously during the time when he was featherweight. He lost to, I believe it was Korean Zombie and Max Holloway, but then his last win was back in 2018. So like he hasn't won in 2 years, and that kind of concerns me. Obviously going down a weight class usually that gives you an advantage, but like you said, Pedro Munoz is like obviously someone that I don't take lightly. I know that he's lost to people like Cody Garbrandt before, against people like Cody Garbrandt before. So and then like you lose to Aljamain Sterling, that's fine. Like you know what I mean? Like Aljamain Sterling is amazing on the ground. But like I think about his like record, like he won against Brett Johns, obviously Brian Caraway, who is Misha Tate's ex, and then Cody Garbrandt. So like his last win was obviously the most impressive. That was back in March of last year against Cody Garbrandt. So I think because of the fact that I don't know like which kind of Frankie Edgar we're gonna get, I don't know which type of answer we're gonna get. I think that I'm gonna lean towards Pedro Munoz because like to me when I think about him losing to Aljamain Sterling, reminds me of Biggie Boy losing to Brazil Ngannou. It's like okay, like I'm not gonna fault you on that. But winning against Cody in the first round, and that was last year, right? So that's quite impressive. So I'm definitely gonna lean towards Pedro Munoz in this one.
Cool. All right, now moving on. We're going into the dark horse of that division, the return of TJ Dillashaw. Oh, here we go. The tank. So with all the top 5, like all of the top 5 guys are pretty much matched up like with each other or with welcoming a 45er. So where does that leave TJ when he comes back? Because his suspension is up pretty soon. It's like in like a couple months or a few months in January 2021. So with all of them pretty much like they're pretty much gonna be divided with other people. So that leaves no room for him in the top 5. So I could see him possibly being matched up against someone like Jimmy Rivera or something, because since everyone else is going to be busy. But for now, let's oh, just look at that!
Like
Look at
round
that!
number 6, man.
Look at that! Look at that! The return of T. I can't wait! So, how do you think that he matches up against the champion Peter Yan, stylistically? No politics for now, but just right now, just like stylistically, how do you think he matches up?
I'm gonna have to, because I had like a thought in my head.
Yeah.
Because like I actually ran this fight ever since we put that fight. I know.
Oh,
As soon as my significant other, I
cannot
told you
wait.
this is his like this is a baby right here.
Oh.
Bantamweight is definitely his baby. I
It's like,
think
how do you not look at that? How do you not look at that and not get turned on? Like, come on. How do you look at that and not get going? Jesus Christ.
okay.
Oh. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so
Go ahead.
you done? You done grunting, my love?
No, there's many more coming.
I know. Okay, so the last time that TJ won was against Cody Garbrandt. That was 2 years ago, right? And then the year before that, he won against Cody Garbrandt again in the rematch. Then he lost to Henry Cejudo last year. Then he got suspended, right? So I think about this. I think about how, man, like Peter Yan's so freaking patient, and like he has a chin on him, and he knows how to distance himself. Like, and no offense, like I know how much you like TJ, and like right now, like honestly, we're not going to talk about the politics, but he decided
We'll
to
get
do
into that.
something
Yeah.
stupid. He decided to do something stupid, and he got caught, and that wasn't smart. Okay, I'm choosing Peter Yan because all I know right now is that Peter Yan has been consistent. He has really shown everybody that he's a really great fighter, that he's pretty much the best fighter right now, at least in bantamweight. Okay, let's just put those are the facts. He's champion, and man, it's just like with Cody and TJ. At the end of the day, like they're both coming back, and I'm like, I just need to see where TJ's headed at. Like, I don't trust him, honestly. I really like. I don't trust Cody. I don't trust TJ because like they just made like mistakes that are like either obvious or just prove that they weren't as elite fighters that could maintain a belt and things like that back then. So I want to be honest. Like I just don't trust TJ to be smart about things. It's hard, right? Like imagine. You put so much faith in someone and you realize they're popping.
Yeah.
It was like John Jones for
Yeah,
me.
I was heartbroken.
Like, yeah, of course.
Obviously, yeah.
And he,
I was
not only
devastated by that news.
He's just putting his freaking body like through hell at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So how smart is that? And then, so of course I'm gonna lean towards the champion who's smart, who's been consistent, who's obviously a patient, technician in the octagon, and he has more to prove. So that's my kind of assessment on that. So for sure, I'm leaning towards Peter Yan if this fight ever comes to fruition. So I'm sorry, babe, but I have every right.
So yeah, I mean,
TJ.
of course, honestly, yeah, Peter Yan should definitely be the favorite if TJ were to come back and fight him. But like you said, it all just depends on what happens. We gotta see how he looks first. But obviously, I'm going to be biased, and I'm going to believe that if TJ comes back and he's still prime TJ, I think that he has the skills to pick apart someone like Peter Yan. I think he has more weapons. I think he has the experience. He has the champions experience, and he's fought with the best of the best. Dominic Cruz, Cody Garbrandt. So yeah, I'm gonna side with TJ, but obviously take that lightly because I'm super biased. So now let's get into the politics a little bit. So let's say he returns like January 2020 right away. Do you think that he would deserve an immediate title shot, with him being TJ, or do you think that he should fight someone in the top 5 first, or maybe even a couple fights before he gets the title shot?
I don't think I can answer that right now because I don't know how the bantamweight division is gonna look, and that's the honest truth. Because
that's the thing.
So I can't say that like right now. Yeah, I can see that happening because TJ, he lost to Henry Cejudo, and Henry Cejudo's gone. I can see him definitely getting the title shot. It's not like he's like freaking Jose Aldo, like getting a title shot because he lost in that division. No. So I think that right now I can see that 2021 you gotta give me a couple months to see what happens because that division's so stacked. If that division was like the flyweight division, fine. Okay, give it to TJ. But this is not the flyweight division.
No,
it's the most stacked
this is the
division
most stacked division in the UFC. There you go.
Thanks,
there you go.
Just, like, totally like
Number one.
my thoughts right now. Yeah, I mean, this is the back division in the UFC. Like, this is the back division in the UFC. Ugh.
God, once TJ gets back in that mix, it's gonna be fucking war.
Babe, you know my concern, man. I don't trust that he's a cheater. Sometimes once a cheater, always a cheater, kind of thing. Like when it comes to this fight game, especially. I don't know, man. You see people like John
I get
Jones
that.
just saying that. Yeah. So I don't know.
Like,
Like it's like I don't know if he's gonna really come back and like just focus on how he usually is in his fight game and him beating people like Cody. That was the TJ that we all kind of like respected at the time, and now it's like I'm telling you, let's just say if it's Peter Yan versus TJ for the belt, y'all know that Peter Yan is just gonna harp on him. Like, everyone's gonna harp on him. Like,
and he deserves it.
That's
he
why
deserves to be picked
hard to
off
like
of that.
respect someone because like as much as I love John Jones, right, ever since the beginning, but like ever since I knew he was like doing all this stuff, like obviously getting in trouble outside of the octagon, very very hard to respect him and see him the same.
Yeah.
So like I just think that it's going to be more of a mental politics game when it comes to TJ, and like because we don't know how like if he's going to come back, how he's going to come back, and if he's going to be 100% TJ, at the end of the day. So I think that he is gonna come back with a rude ass awakening from everybody. So
I can't wait. I can't wait to see how he deals with that. Okay, and up next, obviously, I know we said we'd only talk about the top 5, but you can't have the bantamweight division without Dominic Cruz. So, and we touched up a little on him earlier. So obviously, he's coming off his loss against Henry Cejudo at UFC 249, where he was finished in the second round. And so you mentioned earlier, the whole Keith Peterson thing, where like he said that he thought that Keith Peterson smelled like alcohol and cigarettes, and so this is something that I heard Robin Black say, and I think it's really true. So like when you're in a fight, so when you're in a fight, like you just got punched in the head, and he took a massive knee. He got pretty much TKO'd. Like in my opinion, I think it was an early stoppage, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, he still took like massive damage to get knocked down like that. But pretty much like when you're in a fight, it's like you have, as Robin Black said, like an altered state of consciousness. So he's not really like fully there because he's in a fist fight against the best bantamweight at the time in the world. So you can't really like hold him for the things that happen because Dominic Cruz, he's not one that is a liar. He's not someone that's gonna just say things for no reason. He's not that type of person. So I think that I think it's like Robin Black said, he just altered consciousness because he just got his brain was just sloshed around for those 10 minutes that he had against Cejudo. So I think that that's what it was. He was just obviously super upset. Maybe like he just imagined things. Because I don't think of Dominic Cruz as someone who would lie like that. I think that, I think that's what happened in my opinion. So what do you think on that?
Well,
Robin Black.
Robin Black. He's a dear friend of mine, so I obviously respect his opinion and in all his breakdowns. So check out his 1 minute breakdowns. They're a lot of fun, and so I think he has a really good point because we don't really think about that, right? As just fans, unless you competed, unless you studied the psychology of fighters, just like Robin Black has as like an MMA analyst. So I think that we don't think about what happens when you actually get, tossed around, and beat up in that moment. And unfortunately, Dominic Cruz had that moment. We watched that clip, I don't know how many times, and we watched it recently. And so I think right there and then, where Robin Black's saying, like, at that moment, he might be delusional, right? Because that's pretty much what we're saying. He might be hallucinating and things like that, because at that moment, and the same thing if we talk about Sugar Sean O'Malley, like we're going to talk about him later, like when he wakes up from consciousness, he's already in like an altered state as well. So I think that definitely holds truth. I also think that Dominic Cruz like definitely had something to prove too. I think there's a lot of things that it's not just the altered state of mind when it came to Dominic Cruz. Think about it, guys. His last fight, besides the one, against Henry Cejudo, was his loss to Cody, and that was back in 2016. That's 4 years ago, right? So and then before that, he had a few fights, 3 fights in 2016. But before that, 2014, 2011, Dominic Cruz, unfortunately, because of his injuries, has had one of the most inconsistent records, right? We have to be mindful
Yeah.
of that. And then you think about it, and I'm trying to think of, because I'm looking at his page right now. How old is he? He is about 35 years old. I'm doing the math in my head right now. So, like, he's not technically in his prime anymore, and a lot of
Right.
reasons because of his injuries. And I would think if I was him and having the ego that he has and having like the freaking insightful mind that he has, he knows that like he's not 30 years old anymore. And I think the loss to Cejudo, everything that happened in that moment, like whether it's the early stoppage, whether it was him getting beat up in the head, during that time, it all kind of came together. I think it all kind of affected him. So I think that Robin
Yeah.
definitely has a point with that. But I also think that there's other things that we just don't know when it comes to. I'm just making an estimate. I might be wrong. He could
Yeah.
probably yell at me about that. Like, maybe I am wrong. But I mean, I just know Dominic Cruz after watching him for so many years. I know you do too. And he's not usually this bad of a sport, but he does have an ego. And he does have an ego, and he also has a very inconsistent record. He also has years shaving off his career. He was a former champ. Like, I can't blame him. Once you become like the pretty much the biggest name in bantamweight, and he still is the biggest name in
He's
bantamweight.
still the greatest of all time.
Exactly. A lot of people would argue he's the greatest bantamweight of all time. Once you reach that state, and then you get those injuries, and for him to bounce back was the most abnormal thing I've ever seen in my life. But then it just makes you think okay, yeah, he's definitely injury prone or something.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
don't know. The future
Yes.
is up in the
I
air
can
for
see
him,
that.
and I think he knows that too. I
Yeah.
think the other part of the whole, besides having an altered state of mind right at the moment, was what now? Like, after enduring so many years of not fighting, of analyzing, and of watching other people fight, and then you went from being the most dominant champion to someone who I barely see fight, and it's been a couple of years now, right? So
Yeah.
I think
So
more to it
that's
than
what I
that.
was gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask next. Like, where does the legend go from here? Like, you think he should retire, or I still see him training like on social media and everything, but and it doesn't seem like he was injured in the fight with Cejudo. So I believe that he can still get back in there and beat top guys. He did look really rusty in there against Cejudo. He looked a lot slower. He didn't look as fast. He was obviously coming off the biggest layoff of his career. 4 years. It's been 4 years since his loss against Cody Garbrandt. So obviously he would need time to get back into prime shape. But do you think that he's going to retire, or do you think he's still going to want to get back in there and try it again? Because a title shot doesn't seem like it's realistic at this point, because it's just too stacked, and he came off one, so he would have to work his way back up a little bit.
Be a little
So
laggy, okay?
okay, did you hear what I asked, by the way?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. I'm
no?
just
Okay.
observing. I did.
Okay.
So, okay. You know how Cody Garbrandt, he came back, and came back after like a year or something like that. And the first person that he faced was Rafael Sansa, right? But no, because Dominic Cruz is Dominic Cruz, whether he asked for it or not, which maybe there is some truth to that. Maybe he did ask for a title shot because he's Dominic Cruz. That was not the smartest thing to do, okay? Because like you said,
No, yeah, I
he
agree.
didn't seem like the same. And it's not just because we don't. It's not like we're saying that Dom is not the same great fighter. We both think that he still has it. It's just that 4 years later, like what I mean, you're gonna face a very active Henry Cejudo, like someone who's defending both belts, someone who's at that time, he didn't face Figgy. Figgy wasn't in the picture. Like, at that time, he was dominant in both, divisions. He beat off literally the best flyweight, in my opinion, Demetrius
Beat off.
Johnson. I know, that's the worst. I just thought about that. Like, you know what I mean? He beat off not Dominic, sorry, the Demetrius Johnson. Like, he's, my opinion, the greatest flyweight of all time, especially in the UFC. Really hard to beat. Like, his win streak and all that, defending his belt so many times. Like, and then Dominic Cruz comes back 4 years later. Like, it's different, because I think the first time he came back, right? He
Yeah.
came back and then he faced obviously TJ Dillashaw. Well, TJ Dillashaw at that time was part of Team Alpha Male, or he was getting out of Team Alpha Male. So like obviously Dominic Cruz has so much insight on Team Alpha Male because like pretty much half the camp like has faced him, if not all of it, like pretty much 80% of that camp it feels like has faced him. So, but then like you come back and like you try to face Triple C, who was super active and he's obviously at top of his game, prime. You come back like at 34 or 35 years old, something like that. Is that really the smartest thing? No. Do you want it? Of course you do, because you're so used to being the champion. That's why I said like during that fight, afterwards and what happened, I think it had to attribute to a lot of his ego and also like he's so used to being champ. Like I remember just like looking down his record. I'm like, dude, man, like he only lost to Faber like what back in 2007. Like and so I think about that. And I think to myself that, of course, he wants to be champ again. Of course, he can get a title shot anytime he wants. Dominic Cruz shouldn't like he like just face someone in the top 10. Yes, I agree, but he didn't, and that was the mistake. So if he decided,
Yeah, he was supposed to face Sanhagen, which I thought was a perfect fight for him to come back to.
Really, he was supposed to face Sanhagen.
Yeah, he was going to be matched up against Sanhagen before Henry Cejudo, but then Corey Sanhagen said, I think he said, it was never made official, but that was what was supposed to happen. And then Sanhagen just pretty much said that he doesn't know why it didn't happen. That what he said was that Dominic Cruz just changed his mind. Those were his words that he used. Yeah, I don't know, but I think that would have been.
If he changed his mind, it's because he wanted to be champion.
Yeah.
He probably could beat Henry Cejudo.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect fight, in my opinion.
Right. In 2019, he was supposed to face John Lineker before he got cut by the UFC. So that was canceled. That would have been great for him if I don't know. I think it was probably Dom. Like his injuries, I always blame it on his injuries for things not working out. So
yeah, it was his injuries. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, he was supposed to face Jimmy Rivera in 2017. Like because his last fight he lost to Cody. If he became consistent because of I don't know injuries or whatever, then maybe that would have been a good fight for him. I think he would have won both those fights. I think he thinks that like he is still like, and he is still the best bantamweight of all time. But I think he still thinks that he can, with these injuries, it doesn't matter if he's injured. He thinks he can be like the same dominant champion. Like I don't think he understands how this division is so stacked. Like I get your ego, man. I get like being ambitious and wanting that belt back, but you gotta be realistic. I'm sorry, like this is gonna sound weird coming from me because I'm a huge Dominic Cruz fan. Right? You can't let your ego run everything, and I think that's what happened. If he changed his mind on Sanhagen, I'm like, boy, like it's not an easy win, but it was definitely I could see you winning that fight, like and we could all see him winning that fight. And that would have been way better.
For sure.
But like, think about it this way, babe. Now I think about it, now it makes me upset because, okay, if he said yes to Sanhagen, he wouldn't have lost to Henry Cejudo. Cejudo would have retired at that point.
Probably. Yeah.
That makes me so upset to think about that. It's like, fucking Dominic Cruz, man. Love you, but like, no. You made a mistake. You made a huge mistake.
Yeah, I agree.
That's because he loses to Cejudo. Once you lose after that many years of like getting your career shaved off because of injuries, now like he doesn't even know what like is going to happen. And like that's my thing. If his ego would have benefited if he faced Corey Sanhagen, but once you like face the champion,
100%.
Yeah, and then like you have this inconsistent record. Like, if he lost to Corey Sanhagen, fine. I bet you they would have given him someone else, in the top 5.
Yeah,
100%. Because it's Dominic Cruz. But then no, he had to like freaking like turn down Sanhagen for that. Like, dude, you could have avoided this matchup. Like, 100%, you could have. Cejudo would have faced someone else. Whether it would be Peter.
Yeah, probably Aldo.
Yeah. You know how I feel about that. But that's my whole point. Aldo, Cruz, literally names that can get like a championship match at any time. Like, why did you have to like turn down And like you would have avoided this whole freaking mess, avoided you looking like a dumb fuck after, because you literally did. You looked like a freaking like bad sport and everything, and then avoided you kind of question your own career. I think I just therapist like Dominic Cruz right there, for real. So that's how I think of it. Sorry, it's like a whole rant, but now I just came to the realization I'm pissed. Pissed right now. Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, that was a
I would
was
like
good.
slap his head over. Are you kidding me right now?
I actually did not think about that. Yeah, it would have gone so
So,
much better if he would have just fought Corey
Anyone
Sandhagen.
who's watching this stream, you're like, the light bulb just goes through your head. Therapist Monique, okay. Thanks right here. Now it makes me so
All right, so moving on. So pretty much this is the top of the bantamweight division. So it's always interesting for me to just go back and just compare the top of the division 3 years ago, which it was TJ, Cody, and Cruz, and it's just so interesting to me, like just to think about things like this, because these three guys pretty much ran the division, back then 3 years ago. It was just them. There was nobody else that was even to competition, and now they're just completely different people. It's like that's why this division is so stacked. But it's crazy to think that Cody, he's off of flyweight, TJ suspended, and Cruz is just we don't even know if he's going to come back. So it's just really interesting to yeah, it's interesting to just see that the three guys that just ran the division are just gone now. But these are my go ahead.
Go back to the OG slide right there.
Okay.
So you know what all three of these fighters have in common?
What?
They made stupid decisions. Dominic Cruz, like I said, Corey Sandhagen, you should have taken that fight. You might have avoided that clash with Henry Cejudo. TJ Dillashaw, I don't have to reiterate the fact that you cheated, and everybody pretty much like makes fun of you for that right now. And Cody Garbrandt, now is making a decision, and then before made stupid decisions. Obviously, losing to those three, to TJ and Pedro Munoz at the time. Now he's making a stupid decision going to flyweight. I'm just saying, different. All three of these players have made stupid decisions, and I think I'm right about that. Honestly,
you are, yeah. Yeah, it's really true. Honestly, yeah, that's really what happened with these fighters.
Go to the top three right now in bantamweight. People that have not made stupid decisions right here. Okay, that worked their way up. Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling, Moraes, they're all hardworking fighters. They are, they're supposed to be at this point. Aljamain, like I said, you deserve that title shot more than anybody at this point. So these fighters have not made stupid decisions. Okay, so look at the OGs and then look at the top of the bantamweight.
Well, it's also notable to say that these guys are still relatively new when it comes to being in the title picture, because Peter Yan just won the belt. Marlon Moraes has not been champion yet, and he has gotten a title shot, but Aljamain Sterling hasn't even gotten a title shot. So these guys, they haven't made stupid decisions, but it's still pretty fresh for them. So we can't really say, yet, exactly how
the title
turned out.
But
but
does something to you. The title will do something to you.
But you're definitely right. Yeah, that's the common thing that three OGs made. That they just made.
They made stupid decisions when they got the title. It was after Dominic Cruz for sure held the title for so long. So of course stupid decisions because he thinks he can get the title shot whatever he wants. And he's Dominic Cruz. TJ, we don't even have to reiterate that you want the title so bad you pop that pill going down a weight class. Cody Garbrandt, you want the bantamweight title as well. You're gonna hold up a division if you win this flyweight matchup, and you're gonna sacrifice your body 20 pounds later, and you're gonna have to face someone like King Figgy. Okay, you telling me that's not?
Well, we haven't seen how that has gone yet. So I think the stupid decision for him. Yeah, but I think the stupid decision for him was letting his emotions get carried away in his fights. I think that's what the stupid decision was for him.
It's a lot of things. It's his emotion. His fight IQ is not the brightest. Okay, back then as well. It's not just the emotions. It's the fact that his fight.
That's what's crazy about how he picked apart Dominic Cruz, because in that fight he had a fight IQ of 4,000. That's really the only performance though.
That's if Team Alpha Male
Yeah,
can like
that's
use his brain right there. That's
yeah.
exactly what it is. It's not him, man. He didn't make those stupid, those smart decisions back then. You know, it was all Team Alpha Male.
So that's
It's
why
just
it's so interesting. It's just these guys are just like rock paper scissors. You know, Cody beats Dom, Dom beats TJ, and you know TJ beats Cody. Like, oh,
little,
oh,
like
that's so
little
cool.
triangle right there. You know.
Yeah. But this is pretty much like my dream matchup, like Dominic Cruz against Aljamain Sterling, and then Marlon Moraes against TJ, and then Cody with the super high level boxing match against Peter Yan. Oh,
There you go.
oh,
That's
I could die. I could die in peace. I would die in peace if those 3 fights happen.
Yeah, this is
Oh,
not because like obviously you're my partner, so I would not want you to die in peace after that. But let's see, Cody Cody versus Jan we already talked about. Moraes versus TJ we already talked about. I think we didn't really talk about Aljamain Sterling though versus Dominic Cruz, right? So and
so that
yeah.
I've been wanting that matchup for a while. Like I thought about that fight. Like I was like back even before Aljamain Sterling fought Pedro Munoz, I was like Aljamain Sterling could be a good fight for Dominic Cruz to come back to, and so like that matchup just intrigues me so much. It's just the striking style of both of them. It's a little bit similar. Obviously, Dom moves a lot, but the way they throw punches is a little bit similar. So it would be a really fun fight. So I hope that fight somehow happens. Somehow.
Well, that's up to Dom because in my opinion he made a stupid decision to fight Henry
Yeah.
Cejudo. And you're right. If he fought Aljamain Sterling, that would have been a hard test for him because Aljamain like last year was looking real hot. You know, obviously, come off a win against Corey Sandhagen as well. I'm trying to bring up Aljamain Sterling's opponents because like he was on a tear. You know, for a while now. Let me look at it right now. Topology. Yeah, see, he won against Pedro Munoz, Jimmy Rivera, and then obviously everybody underneath him. So I think that if he faced Dominic Cruz last year instead of Dominic Cruz being Dominic Cruz and facing Henry Cejudo, then yeah, I think that Dominic Cruz had a chance because no offense to Aljamain Sterling, like still the people like Jimmy Rivera, Pedro Munoz, like Sandhagen, like they're just up and coming. Then you have to face someone like a veteran, the best bantamweight. You know, I'm sure he would have been really thrilled to face someone like Dominic Cruz. You know, they're gonna know like Aljamain Sterling. So I think that Cruz probably out of all of those three probably had the best chance. I'm not gonna lie against all three. Against the TJ, like you just don't know, man, anymore.
I know.
Cody,
I
don't know.
I believe, Monique. I
Okay,
believe.
you're gonna get so trashed like when he comes back. You already know that, right? Like I'm already against TJ for that reason, and it's just hard to respect him again. Like, I try to be objective, and I try to get excited. I'm just like, but what if he's popping? Like, you know what I mean? That's true. I'm not even like making fun of him.
Honestly,
Like,
I really don't think he would do that anymore. Yeah, he
we
did
all
make
thought the
that
same with John
mistake.
Jones. They both had the ego, like
I never thought that. John Jones is different for me, in my opinion, because John Jones never wanted to admit it. John Jones is like, you know, I think DC described him as a sociopath, someone who believed his own lies. I mean, TJ, I think, admitted it immediately. You know, he knew that he was going to get caught because it was a pretty big step that he was taking, a really like powerful one. So I think, yeah, it was totally stupid of him to do that. Totally like against what he said he stood up for, and I was heartbroken. But you know, at the end of the day, I'm still a fan of him. I believe he can come back. I believe he can get the title back. And you know, I really love his style and all that. But yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of shit for being a fan. I'm not gonna like argue with people because people who say that he's an asshole or that he doesn't deserve to even compete, he should be kicked off the UFC. I've heard that. I mean, they have a point. So I'm not gonna disagree, like argue or fight people on that for sure because he deserves all the shit that he's gonna get. Yeah.
He's definitely a douche. Okay, like regardless of him popping EPO
Yeah.
or not, he's definitely a douche. He's
Yeah, he can be a douche sometimes.
Yeah, no, for real. That's one of the reasons why I don't know if he's telling the truth. Like about if he actually believes that this is actually wrong. There's two different things. You admit that you did it versus you actually think it's wrong, right? So kind of thing.
Yeah.
So with TJ.
Yeah, hopefully he's not just telling the fans or telling people what they want to hear. and
Yeah.
instead being actually honest to them, not just telling them. Looking at you, Monique. Looking at you, bro.
Wait, okay. The reason why I'm so like skeptical about TJ is because
Yeah.
if he wasn't a douche, I would not think this way. If he was like a classy man, kind of thing, and I don't really think he is.
Like Dom.
Yeah, like Dom, similar to Dom, I would 100% believe. Like with Dom, like I said, he is stupid. Okay, coming back and fighting Cejudo, that was his own ego, that was his own ambition. I can't get mad at him for that, but that was so stupid. I would never, in a million years, after everything that, like, you losing all those years, that you decide to fucking come back and like face Cejudo, like. What the hell are you doing, Dominic? Because you're just trying to like buy the time back. So that's exactly what you're trying to do. So like I can't get mad at him for that. But TJ, like if he was not a douche, obviously him against Cody he was douche. Cody was a douche to him. Like I think those two are stupid. Okay, Dominic Cruz is smart, but they've all made stupid decisions. That's how I see it. And only time will tell. And I don't know. I don't believe anything that TJ says anymore. Just it like literally just rubbed me the wrong way because I actually respected his talent. I wasn't a fan of him because I was like a whole Henan Burrell fan back then, but I never like actually disrespected his.
Oh, Henan Burrell was just like the biggest like anomaly. It's like that guy. He was just so dominant, the most dominant fighter in UFC history
He was the
for a
most
time.
dominant interim. Remember because Dom was injured. I remember that.
Right. Yeah. True. Yeah. But he's just. I'll never understand what happened there. He's just another name that just, unfortunately, just who knows what that'll happen. But yeah. Anyways, that's moving on to more recent events. Recently, we just had Sean O'Malley against Marlon Vera, and obviously there was lots of controversy within this fight. Lots of people saying that Marlon Moraes didn't actually win. Lots of people saying that he did deserve the win and to get credit for it. So, people who don't know what happened, there was a point in the fight where Marlon Vera, he was attacking Sean O'Malley's legs, and all of a sudden, just O'Malley's foot just goes absolutely limp, and he starts rolling over his own ankle, and he just like keeps falling to the point where he can't even stand. So he just falls to his back, and then from there, Marlon Vera jumps on him, lands massive elbows, knocks him out for a second, and then Sean wakes back up, but he pretty much TKOs him, and Herb Dean steps in. So a lot of people were questioning, whether or not he deserved credit. So to get into like the injury itself, so a lot of people have been saying that what it is that there's like a nerve called the peroneal nerve behind your knee, and if you kick that nerve or it gets like like injured in any way, you lose all feeling in the lower leg, feet, and toes. So that's pretty much what everyone was saying was what happened, because as you can see here, it happened as soon as Marlon Vera, like right after he kicked his leg. As you can see here, it sort of wrapped around the back of his knee, and so after that was when Sean O'Malley stepped back, and then he switched stance, started putting his right foot back, and as you can see, like from that point, like he started to like roll over his own toes, like if he couldn't feel them, like they just went numb, and from there he started to fall and couldn't keep his balance. And so we have seen this before twice, and the first time this happened was against it was between back when DJ was running the flyweight division when he defended his belt against Henry Cejudo. Yeah, so same thing happened here. DJ goes in to kick his leg, wraps a little bit behind the knee, hitting that nerve, and from there immediately Henry Cejudo, like he cannot feel his foot. He starts rolling his ankle, and he just loses all feeling. Another example, Michael Chandler against Brent Primus, same thing. He kicks like sort of behind the knee right there, right on that nerve, and then boom, loses all feeling right there. He starts falling, and again kicks it again. Yeah, he loses all feeling in it. So that's pretty much what I believe is what happened. Sean hasn't come out and said that he had an injury prior. So I think if something like that was the case, he would have said it by now. But if this is what happened, and it really seems like it, then Marlon Vera 100% beat Sean O'Malley and beat him fair and square, because that was a legit, strike, and he caused the damage. And it looks like, that there is no serious injury yet that has been seen. From Sean, there's no fracture in his bones, but yeah, they're gonna have to tear. I mean, they're gonna have to check if there's any tears in his ligaments, because maybe it wasn't necessarily the kick that did the damage, but when he lost styling, he sort of rolled his ankle, and that could have led to an injury because he stretched all the ligaments in that. He used a lot of force, so they're gonna have to see if there's any tears in that or micro tears. So we're gonna have to wait to find out. But what do you think about that? Do you think that it was the peroneal nerve and everything,
It
or do you
definitely,
think it was?
yeah. Logically, it looks like based on the analysis and like obviously watching a lot of people's breakdown of the fight and what in that moment and what
Yeah.
happened. And I'm a believer. Obviously, you know me. I had 2 years of nutrition. I've literally taken courses like that, so I definitely believe in the science of it. Whether it's true or not, we'll see. It looks likely that it is true. I was also, when we were doing this fight companion, I was the one that said that I don't think this is pre-existing. I don't know why. I just didn't feel like
Mhm.
it because, like you said, like if it was, he would have said something by now. So I
Yeah.
think this is what happened. I don't like to admit that Cheeto Vera, like as the douche that he is, won fair and square.
Mhm.
Leg kick is a leg kick. You can't really cheat a leg kick. At least I don't think
Yeah.
so. But that's only if this is the case, right?
Yeah.
So likely it
And
probably
mhm.
was, because I can't think of anything else except the fact that Sean himself rolled it, and the back leg wasn't affected. It looked a little bit like you can see if you zoom in on a lot of the moment right there when Cheeto Vera did kick him in the right leg. The right leg came back. He obviously his left leg came forward. He rolled his left leg as well. So there's different weird occasions. Yeah, there you go, babe. So
Mhm.
it's so awkward, man. Like for me to I'm leaning towards that.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, we've seen it happen obviously twice before, so
So
it
yeah,
really
like I said,
seems like that's what it was.
biases aside,
'Cause-
there's
mhm.
a huge asterisk. A lot of people don't know what the hell happened. I think that's the only reason why there's an asterisk. Once the everything comes out, from Rashawn or his representatives or anybody like that, then maybe I can understand and be like, okay, Vera, yeah, 100%. Like it's just that I think in combination with him being sorry, I'm gonna swear like a lot on this stream. He was being a freaking cunt, like honestly, like from last night. He was a racist cunt.
That's an
Like
interesting
I'm
word
Chinese,
that you chose there.
I'm Chinese, so obviously that whole statement offends me a lot. And anybody
Yeah.
that I know that's a really that's a good human being knows that that's a racist statement.
So
So
for people who don't know what I'm talking about, it was his last fight against Song Yadong. Song Yadong, like he fought a good fight. He did nothing wrong, and at the end of the fight, the scorecards were red, and a lot of people thought that it should have gone Marlon Vera's way. But so either way, Song Yadong obviously isn't the judges, so he tried to shake hands with him, and Marlon Vera just sort of waved his hand away, just totally was being disrespectful. And even I also noticed that during the fight, he was sort of being a little bit rude to Song Yadong, being as respectful as Song Yadong was. So I don't really know what his problem was with him because Song Yadong didn't talk any trash in that fight from what I know of. And after the fight, he just goes on Twitter and says the only reason that I lost to this Chinaman was because of the judges. And in my opinion, there's no excuse for saying something like that because that's obviously it's not blatantly racist, but it's a racially like
it's a fight. It's
the yeah, it's just totally just demoralizing word, totally demoralizing word, and it's a really condescending word too. So I don't know why, I don't know what his problem was with Song Yadong, honestly, but yeah, that's pretty much the reason why I think he's a little bit of an asshole, and I also think Sean is a little bit of an asshole. So in this fight, I was hoping for a double knockout, as Tony Ferguson would say. So yeah,
oh, I
that's
miss
what
Tony.
we're talking about. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I
I
know,
miss
me too.
So I think that okay. So obviously gathering because I think you're the one that pointed out that kind of racially implied tweet. I think that okay. Like obviously, I've seen a lot of people argue about that online. I think people
Yeah,
are so goddamn ignorant. Like they just don't know that certain things are offensive, right?
yeah,
and that is so offensive. And Song Yadong, like, okay, I'm gonna say this is a little bit sidetracked, but like the Chinese culture, man, like we are so we literally preach respect and like classiness and all that, right? So yeah, no,
Yeah.
Song Yadong did not do anything wrong. He was like the innocent bystander. He's like, I'm here to fight. I
Yeah.
want to win. Like that's exactly what it is. And like Cheeto Vera, like it's one thing to like freaking trash talk. It's fine. Everybody does it, right? In the UFC and in general in life. But then like you have to, why did you just say like the China man? Like that was very very unnecessary.
Yeah.
Obviously, that makes me think that you're a goddamn racist, or either you're ignorant and you're just a total asshole. And I think that's why I call him a cunt. Like that's exactly why, because I think that he is. He after this fight. Oh, he just made me just want to punch him in the face. I've told a lot of people that on streams, and I 100%, like, if I got the opportunity, just because, like, number one, if he's actually a racist, number two, he's going to be humbled, okay? We all know that, in the top 10, especially. Like, I can't see a lot of people not beating him. Let's just say that. He's a freaking gatekeeper in the bantamweight division, and he's not going to go anywhere. For what I know, he's going to get humbled. Same as Sean, you know. Obviously, Sean maybe got humbled that night. We don't know. I don't know. I don't want to like make like a goddamn assumption. Not just because I'm a fan. It's just that I just don't know what the results are. I don't know exactly what happened. I gotta hear it from his point of view as well to only make a fair statement. And so I'm putting an asterisk on that. And there's definitely probably going to be a rematch depending on where Marlon Vera is.
Yeah.
I don't think he's gonna go anywhere. So I think there's actually going to be.
I agree. Yeah.
Stop being a goddamn ass about it, man. You're not anything special. Like, sorry, I'm gonna have to say that because he really isn't. And like maybe like I don't know what if he's always been a douche to me, okay? But at the same time, like it's just now you kicked it up a notch. I think because you just know that if you like take on this heel, persona, and I actually do think he's a douche, that he will 100% like get all those opportunities because he's not the biggest draw. And let me tell you this, just because he won against Sean O'Malley doesn't make him a draw. In my opinion, he needed Sean to be a draw. He needs someone to be a draw. He's not that memorable,
Yeah.
The only reason why he's a draw right now is because he beat Sean O'Malley. Not because like he beat somebody else. Not because he beat Song Yadong. No offense to Song Yadong, okay? I'm saying he needed someone else to be a draw. And so I can't wait for the day he gets humbled because it's probably going to be soon,
Yeah, with how stacked this division is, it's probably going to be soon. Might be Song Yadong again.
He's not making any friends in the division, so I bet you a lot of people are ready to just beat his ass, so 100%.
Yeah. That Sam said, ooh.
Oh. Hello.
And so after the fight, obviously Sean O'Malley was injured and he was like on a gurney and he was carried out of the octagon again for the second time. And a lot of people like Ben Askren went on Ariel Hawani's show and just totally criticizing. Yeah, Sean O'Malley does not have too many fans. Like not even just with the fans, just also with other fighters. So Ben was pretty much saying that like he needs to grow up, and that like the girl Macy Barber was she had like her whole like ACL torn, and she's like limped out of there on her own, like with the help of just the cornerman. So he was just saying that like he was being kind of a baby pretty much for like having to get carried out as a whole nother foot to walk on. And he was like, you'll never see me, limping out of there when I have a whole nother foot to hop on.
Let's say this, Ben Askren will never see you in the octagon anytime soon. So he's just kind of like being Ben Askren at the end of the day. I don't know. I don't like making the assumptions, basically. I'm just kind of waiting for it. Like, everybody's going to harp on him. A lot of people are not his fans. Like, and I was also, like, I just don't know because Ben Askren, like, I don't know if he's ever been really injured before either. So everybody takes that differently. Everybody's like pain threshold is different. So I don't know, man. He's just talking out of his ass. Just being Ben Askren at the end of the day. So I don't really take that into account. And
it's even more surprising because they're family members. They're from the same bloodline. The curly hair bloodline. And so we're gonna get into a little bit of the funnier part of the stream. So, so Henry Cejudo said, "I fought DJ and Marlon with no legs, and this 2-pump chump broke his nail and can't compete." I died so hard. when I saw that tweet. Henry Cejudo, he's retired, but he's still getting W's. He's still handing out L's
He's
on
hilarious.
Twitter.
He's hilarious. But sometimes, but only like, sometimes. There you go.
Sooner or later, they all bend.
I think Henry Cejudo's comments, whether you like it or not, it just kind of lighten up the mood a lot. Like a
Yeah.
lot, for sure.
He's always going to be entertaining. And then, of course, Cody Garbrandt had to chime in and say, "Some people are made for war." # sugar free. Sugar free.
I mean, like,
And it's not obviously
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say because like you brought this up, right? So that I was gonna say because like once Sean O'Malley comes at Cody Garbrandt's always gonna like come back and say something like that. So not.
Yeah, so another tweet they had before, which was interesting, is Sean O'Malley said, "I hope you don't get knocked out at strawweight because it won't look as good when I knock you out." And then Cody Garbrandt said, "Hopefully you don't have to get carried out of the cage like a bitch again. Good luck." And it's funny because this was like months ago, July 31st, and he ended up having to get carried out again. So it was, yeah, a lot of people were saying this tweet aged like fine wine.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that this is kind of like karma. I definitely believe in karma, you know, especially still in the fight game. So I think that with Sean O'Malley, like, you know, saying that, it's like, dude, like, I get it, okay, you're that type of guy that's going to come after someone like Cody Garbrandt, whether it's a smart idea or not. But you have a lot to learn. You're 25 years old. You know, pretty much, it looks like you got humble, so I'm going to say that right now, but I'm not going to make a definite statement. And like I said, eventually, I think both Chito Vera and Sugar Sean O'Malley, this is an asterisk kind of fight. Eventually, they're both going to get humbled.
Yeah.
Top 100%. So, I'm going to say that as a fan
And
of Sugar Sean O'Malley. So, yeah.
yeah. And so another tweet that they had was, so obviously Sean O'Malley takes your side and he thinks that Cody Garbrandt is ducking the bantamweight division. And so another witty comment by Cody was, "Don't worry, kid, I'll be running both divisions by 2021. Hopefully by that time you'll fight someone in the top 15. Burn. Burn. Oh,
Last part,
there goes.
I'll 100% attest
There
to
goes
that.
Daddy No Love handing out L's even when he's not fighting.
Well, Cody Garbrandt saying he's going to run 2 divisions, I don't think that's going to happen. Not just saying that he's going to lose. I think if he actually wins, he's gonna hold up that division. So I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
That's a politics thing,
Probably.
obviously. So like he'll be running
So,
both divisions just because you get 1 belt. You know, like that division itself, there's not much to run. No offense to the flyweights. You know, kind of thing. So I don't really I don't focus on the top part of that tweet that much. I'm like, yeah, okay, Cody. That's interpretation.
So another part in the fight that had some controversy was that people thought that it was an early stoppage. And I'm talking about the Vera and O'Malley fight. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it was early, or do you think that Kirby stepped in at the right time?
It might have been slightly early. Like it wasn't like, to me, it wasn't like a Dominic Cruz kind of stoppage from Keith Peterson. That was very disgust that, okay? What the hell would you like if you was down, okay, you stop the fight. Yeah, he starts to get up and then you stop the fight. Like, it makes no sense, right? But it wasn't like that. It was just like, I think maybe if her being you know, Chito Vera, maybe more ground pound, 1 or 2 more strikes, seeing like, you know, Sean's head bounce back again, like, I'll give. It wasn't like I don't think it was too far stretched out. You know, when it comes like, it's not out of reach for you to say that it's early stoppage. In my opinion, it was close.
Yeah.
It might have been kind of early, but at the end of the day, like, you know, Sean definitely, like, he went down. Chito Vera hit him really hard. He pretty much lost consciousness. We talked about this before the stream as well, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it was early.
Watching it live, I'm kind of like where your head was at. I thought it was a bit of an early stoppage. You know, like we have seen fighters like you know, Cejudo and obviously Michael Chandler, where they've, you know, lost, you know, off feelings in their lower legs, and they were still able to, and you know, eventually like it sort of came back and they were able to still fight. So it did seem like Sean at the time when I was watching it live was still in there, and he could have, you know, just probably held on to him for the rest of the round, and maybe the feeling in his leg would have came back. But one thing that I did not notice until I watched the YouTube video by someone who a lot of MMA fans know is the Weasel, who has a really popular channel, and he's like a really smart guy. He does a lot of breakdowns. So he pointed out something interesting, that Sean O'Malley did in fact lose his consciousness at the point where Marlon Vera was hitting him with the ground and pound. And so, yeah, I'm going to play a little bit of his breakdown. Hopefully, you'll be able to hear
And this
it.
ultimately did lead to that
Here you go.
up to that knockout sequence where, in fact, Sean O'Malley did get knocked out. So a lot of people are questioning Herb Dean's decision to stop the fight. Whether you think it was good, whether you think it was bad, Herb Dean goes and stops the fight right after O'Malley loses consciousness. It's 100% lost consciousness. Takes a few elbows from Marlon Vera as he has wrist control of Vera's right hand. He's trying to bring the high pocket to Marlon Vera. He's kind of controlling Vera's left hand, or in other words, controlling the left elbow from coming. So 2 elbows land clean, 1 grazes, but those are not the blows that knocked out Sean O'Malley. It was actually a hammer fist that grazed the top of his head, weirdly enough. So Marlon lands the hammer fist to the top of the head. You see O'Malley's left hand loses the grip of the wrist control, and he goes flat on his back, arms to his side, head on the ground. It's clearly he momentarily because he does come back. He wakes up, and not only does he just wake up, he wakes up like he's panicking or trying to defend himself, which he was not doing before, right? He was trying to control Marlon Vera rather than defend the strikes by putting up a guard or something like that. He wakes up and shells up. This is very different behavior. It's almost like waking up from a nightmare, you know? Like, you go to sleep, you wake up all of a sudden in a cold sweat. That's what it seems like what happened to Sean O'Malley. He goes to sleep, wakes up in a panic. And Herb Dean comes in right when he gets knocked out.
There you go.
So yeah, that's something super interesting that I didn't realize until I watched the video. So yeah, after watching that, it does seem like it was like a pretty much perfect stoppage. But personally, I would have still liked for it to go a little bit longer. You know, I prefer when the fighters, you know, it's kind of fucked up, but I prefer to see them really out of it, and not just because I like Sean O'Malley, but I think that, you know, it's kind of like what happened with Cruz a little bit. You know, at the end of the day, these guys are the best fighters in the world, and they weren't really, you know, fighting for a championship. But you know, this is still at the highest competition, so you got to get if the guys want to go out, then you got to give them that opportunity to fight until they can't. So I would have preferred to still see it a little bit longer. But after looking at this, yeah, I can't argue at all with the stoppage.
Yeah, it's a little bit fucked up, man. Just because, like, there's obviously an issue with them, you know, their well-being and their brain and all that. So I'm not gonna condone that. But I understand where you're coming from. Like, you know, gonna win. You know, pretty much. Some of the fighters that I absolutely love, they actually win because they either you have to sleep them or you gotta knock them out, right? So I love that. I think Sean O'Malley is definitely one of those fighters as well. So I understand where you're coming from, but I wouldn't say I would condone it. That's for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so that was that. But yeah, the stoppage, in my opinion, was entirely fair. You know, if you ask Sean O'Malley, you know, obviously, you know, he would have probably protested a stoppage. You know, because that's just the ego that every single fighter has. You know, if Cruz, you know, if he, you know, gets as hurt as he possibly can, he's still going to protest that stoppage because, you know, he's just, you know, one of the best fighters in the world, and they're willing to die on their shield. So yeah, so that's pretty much that. And I guess the last part of the stream, we are going to compare the knockouts between Cody Grant and Sean O'Malley, which happened on the same card. So, Winnick, you and I are going to settle this once and for all. Whose knockout was better, Cody's or Sean? So this is Cody's, obviously. This has been everywhere. It's crazy that these two knockouts happened on the same day. So he knocked out Rafael Sunset. So it was just incredible. He just dips down and puts everything he has into that punch. And Sunset went out cold. And like he didn't wake up for like 2 minutes. And even when he woke up, he was just falling over on his chair. And so here's Sean O'Malley's knockout. Same day, just picture perfect punch. Just Eddie Wineland just goes flat out on his back. It's just, yeah, that's as clean of a KO as it gets. So they were both amazing knockouts, but you know, lots of debates on whose was better. And so, what are your thoughts? Who do you think was more impressive between the two?
Okay, so actually watching these two knockouts back actually helped my decision. I
Mhm.
have to say that, okay, so if anybody's comparing these two knockouts, if you're gonna go one way, it's because it depends on your priority in terms of what constitutes, a better knockout. Is it,
Yeah,
if it's power and intensity? Cody. A lot of people, including myself, I love. It's like in other sports too. If I see a monster dunk, I love it. The same thing with this. I love Cody's knockout. It's just all full power. Like he literally revved up his arm, for this. He put everything into that knockout. Of course, freaking out Sunset was out cold for 2 minutes. But then I love technique as well, and like Sugar Sean, like it was the opposite. He didn't really have to put as much effort, and like that's one of the reasons why I think he's amazing in the octagon, because like he's like kind of like he's full of that power, but you don't think he's actually trying, right? Especially
yeah,
with that clean right hand. I mean, like to me, like for me, swooning over both of these knockouts, like they're totally different reasons, right? Sean just looked
yeah,
freaking effortless. It was so clean. It was so effortless. It was textbook knockout with the Cody. Like when you put you put literally all of your energy into one knockout, and it shows. It's definitely exciting. So, whose is the better knockout? It's funny because I like both of them for different reasons. So, if like I said, if everyone cares about intensity, this is the knockout for you. If you care a lot more about, effortless, classy like knockouts, it's gonna be Sean O'Malley's. They actually both, I think, they made a whole like Twitter beef about it, saying like, "Oh, mine is better."
yeah.
Like obviously, yeah,
Hmm.
that's fine. Okay, both their egos, whatever aside. I have to, I have to look at both those knockouts like in real time again. I don't know.
Yeah, they're crazy live. Just they're so surprising. Yeah, I lost it
Because
when Cody when Cody knocked him out. So
no,
the
I
thing
definitely
is, like
lost it.
Cody's was a buzzer beater. Cody got him like at the end of the round, the end.
That's
Yeah,
always
that
always.
that
But then,
it's
and
kind
then
of
the
like
thing
watching
about
basketball. Just when it's on the
yeah,
buzzer, it just makes it
oh
way
yeah,
that much better.
that yeah, I mean, Cody has that. He has that the intensity of it, the power. So I'll give him
Hmm.
that. And then at the same time, Sean's was so unpredictable. I was like, whoa, like that's just like that was so clean.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you
it
said,
just
don't
looks like
expect
you
someone like
said
that with that
effortless.
power, right? So
Hmm.
I think I'll probably lean towards Cody, but it's tough, man. Because I like both technique and
Hmm.
the surprise factor of him, like being lanky and not having that power. Like he didn't rev up or anything, man. He just literally like just punched the guy and he was out. Like, that was like really really
Yeah,
cool to watch. But I think like for intensity wise, like what I probably had a bigger reaction. I think I had a bigger reaction for Cody, but it wasn't like a huge dominant reaction. I had a surprising reaction to both. When it happened. So I'll probably
hmm.
give it to Cody. Only because like you said,
So
on
mm,
the buzzer, it looked better. From my memory too, I probably had a bigger reaction to Cody Garbrandt's
mhm.
KO. I love me the
Yeah,
power for KO.
visually,
Yeah,
yeah, visually, Cody's a lot more. It looks like he just blew a hole through his face, and Sean's was the way more technical
but
knockout.
that's
He
the thing.
set it up
I
perfectly.
can't
So
like. It's hard because I love both those
yeah,
knockouts for different reasons, right? Like,
mhm,
and like they're both like surprising. Like you see Cody Fame, but they were
mhm.
so fast that he just knocks him out like cold. And then you see Sugar Sean
Yeah,
O'Malley. Okay, I'm gonna walk towards. Oh, boom, you're out. Like just like that, clean straight. So
yeah.
I was probably. I'll probably lean.
So
I'll probably lean towards Cody. But
yeah,
they were
visually,
both good.
visually, Cody's was the more violent one, and Sean's was the more technical one. So yeah, it's like you said, it just depends on what you're looking for. But when it comes to the actual fighters, so the big argument that a lot of people were making was that Cody's was against way higher competition. Rafael Sunsao is he's not like top five, but he's still a way bigger, way more impressive person to knock out than someone like Eddie Wineland, which is
Yeah,
100% true. So
yeah. I mean,
when
I
it
don't
comes
know
to
if
that,
I,
yeah.
I definitely like. I don't know if I take that into account. Like for me, the knockout is like to see like the mechanics of the knockout for me,
Mm.
not just like who they're
Yeah.
knocking. right? Because like, if we're going to talk about that, then TJ knocking out Cody was probably one of my favorites, right? Because we're going to talk about
Yeah,
so
but
much
these two
greater.
happen on the same day, so that's why we're comparing these two.
I think that because visually they're both appealing for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like that's
Mhm.
beautiful. I can't argue with that. Like, you know, it's just like shit.
Oh,
Like
God.
watching that, it's just like
He's a
that is
sniper.
what every fighter should strive for. Like a classically clean knockout. Like Sean O'Malley was textbook, okay, and then Cody was like the total brawler style. Like, you know, I see you coming at me, I'm gonna hit you with all that I can. And I think like that's like most people probably lean towards that. But at the same time, you gotta like understand like people are not always objective. We all have our biases, and that's why I was glad you brought this up because like I think at that time I definitely had a bias because I obviously am a huge like Sugar Sean fan, but and I love technique. I love technique in a lot of different ways, but you know now I'm probably leaning towards Cody. But it's like so close. It's so hard for me. Like I'll say Cody. I'll say Cody because if I remember watching it. So there you go, babe. I said Cody Garbrandt.
So obviously mine is going to be Cody's, no competition. You know, but again, he is like one of my favorite bantamweights ever. So obviously I'm super biased,
There,
and
babe.
I still think it's more impressive though. Like even like trying to put my bias aside, just because it was against way higher competition. You know,
I
that's
don't know why
that's the
I
main
don't
thing.
see like that part of it. Honestly, it's just a knockout to me. Is like a beautiful knockout is a beautiful knockout. Whether you knock out, it's just because like for me the mechanics of what happened with Sean and Eddie Wyland. I mean like you can't get cleaner than that. And that's the thing that's what impressed me like the most.
Well, yeah, but you could do that on anybody technically. Like if you knock out CM Punk, you can't compare that to knocking out like
Well, the
Justin
that
Poirier.
knockout was beautiful. Like you know, what I mean, like I think it was the actual knockout.
No, I think anybody in the top 15 can get a beautiful knockout on CM Punk. No offense to CM
But
Punk, I actually really like
something
CM
like
Punk.
this clean, it's not easy to do. Like you know, a lot of
Yeah, it
people have
is.
knockouts.
Any boxer could do that. Any boxer could do that to someone who isn't at their level easily.
I think it also
That-
because like for me, I like this one because it actually came at a certain time where I didn't expect him to knock him out. Like nobody expected that knockout to happen right there and then. Right?
No
'Cause,
one
like,
expected
Cody,
fucking Cody's buzzer beater. But no one
no,
expected
I
that.
know, but like here's the thing, like Cody, like you can see him faint, right? So like that's what I mean. Like it was it's a little bit
Yeah.
anticipated, and then but this was
That's
like
true. You wouldn't expect that power from Sean like that. Yeah.
that's why
With
it's
that
like,
effort, yeah.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Well,
Yeah,
I'll definitely
they're
go
both
Cody.
amazing for different reasons. But yeah, personally, I'm gonna go with Cody.
Cody, like I think, because like the fact that he put everything into that knockout probably would sway a lot of people to think that his was better.
Yeah.
He literally put everything, his momentum and everything.
Yeah.
All right, babe.
All right, so that settles that, and so yeah, this is pretty much just the bantamweight division right now. Obviously, excluding TJ Dillashaw from the picture because he's not back yet. So that was our bantamweight breakdown. We did almost 2 hours just now.
I was gonna say
Felt like 10
oh man,
I could talk about this for 2 more hours, to be honest, but
Happy
know,
2nd anniversary.
I won't. Happy 2nd anniversary.
That was this was a dream come true for him to like talk about the bantamweight
Yes.
division.
Yes.
Finally on a stream.
You're so right about Sean's hair. He just stands out. He just stands out so much.
He's so distracting. Like, and then maybe it's a psychology trying to get to people. It didn't work obviously that night against Chito Vera, but we'll see what whatever the doctors, whatever he says about it.
Well, it seemed like it worked for all the wrong reasons. He had a lot of haters.
Well, you try to do some things to sway him, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons why Chito Vera was someone that Sean O'Malley actually respected more than someone like Cody Garbrandt. Funny enough, right? So I don't know. We'll see what happens. My favorite bantamweight.
Right now, this is Peter Yan's division. He's
the
bantamweight right now.
We're gonna have like a bet.
Yes, I do.
So y'all, okay. So the next pay per view is it in September, like September 19th or September 22nd?
I believe it's one of those.
Let me see. One of those. Let's see what the next pay per view is. Yeah, UFC 253 is happening September 26th. We have a major bet going on, and it's not for money. This is for all the marbles, at least for me. I don't.
We still haven't figured out what I get if I win. You
Doesn't
gotta figure
matter,
that out
it's
first.
still a bet.
It does matter because I gotta find something equal value, especially because I'm gonna be rooting for the underdog. So I gotta find something even better.
You know, like it's different because like basically this has to do with celebrity crushes and stuff. Like I don't have like crazy like celebrity crush or something, so it's really tough. Like I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't follow any of those pages, so it can't be something like that.
Duh, not something like that, but something that's like equally important.
Okay, how this? So if Paulo Costa, we're talking about. By the way, we're talking about the middleweight championship matchup. Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Bonachina Costa. So basically, if my better half, he's betting on Paulo Costa for this underdog. If he
The king of
wins,
bitches. Boratina.
anyways, that was so cringe, babe. Don't ever do that again.
How dare you? Don't ever disrespect
That
the
was
king
so
of bitches
gross.
and his fan base ever again. Ever again.
Some people disrespect him because he's so ignorant. Anyways, my point is,
He will erase all the haters. Boratina will erase them all. Because he's the eraser.
I'm gonna bring that picture of him looking at a goddamn frog, okay, and letting himself go. If Paulo Costa wins, then we're trying to figure out a bet. I say like if he wins, then maybe for a whole month, I will not drink. That is like a huge thing because I work obviously.
Why?
Yeah.
How does that benefit me?
Maybe
I don't care.
Make fun of me. Like you always make fun
Yeah,
of me.
because it's funny. I don't care if you don't drink, bro. How does that benefit me?
Dude,
That's for
what
you. You do that on your own.
theme about. I don't have a.
I'll think of
Like a
something.
celebrity
I'll
crush
think of something. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
How about
Sweetheart.
How can you like? How are you gonna figure out something like a similar?
I don't know. We'll figure it out. Alright? We'll figure it out.
So we definitely
Trust
have
me,
a bet going on. This is for all the marbles, guys. Like if. And then we already. I wish we could preview that right now. If Israel Adesanya, who I obviously think is gonna win this event and be like and still middleweight champion. This one up here has to in front of me.
You're gonna tell them?
Oh,
You're gonna tell them?
Not like a specific.
Okay, I'll tell them. I'll tell them. I'll tell them. I'll tell them. I am like totally obsessed with Nancy McDonough from Momoland. So, and obviously my girlfriend is a little bit jealous of that and doesn't like that. So I follow like 30 fan pages of her on Instagram. For some reason, she's bothered by that. She's weird. It's just a celebrity, I don't know why you're so bothered by that. But anyways,
we got together. You try to make me jealous with her, man. That's the reason why I'm bothered by it.
it's a celebrity. How does that? It's a celebrity. Like, come on. That's like crushing over like Beyonce.
Here for the bantamweights times 100 for this girl, and like she obviously has like. I'm gonna bring up that receding hairline, okay? Like all the time, man.
Well, I have one too. So.
It's like split over here, man. I wish I could. Next time I'm in control of the slide. This sort of guy.
Don't you dare! Don't you?
That bet, yeah, 100. You're the one who showed me, so you made that decision to show me her receding hairline. Okay. Oh, I have it. I can literally bring it up right now if I wanted to. But
no.
It'll be nice. It'll be nice. I know
You'll
how
be nice.
protective of her you are. Anyways.
You know what? I'm gonna do you dirty a little bit, and I'm gonna whip out. You know what's coming. You know what's coming.
I already knew it was coming. I already knew it was coming.
It's funny because it's not loading. The universe is favoring you. There you go. There you go.
Damn it.
There you go.
It's like, I love how we get
what does that say? Is that by Femi Fatal 88? Is that you, Monique? Is that you? No, it can't be. What does that say? My hashtag MCM hard eyes kissy face at Cody No Love hashtag no caveated. Aww.
Was stupid.
That's adorable. That's adorable.
This is before you got his tattoos too, man. Seriously. And that hairline. So.
Number one Cody Garbrandt fan right there. Number one. That's the face of a no love lover. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. I'm glad I'm not the only Cody Nola fan here. I'm glad. Sorry, I had to do that to you. You know that. You know that. Don't worry, Peter Yan's champion right now. You can watch him defend his belt against
I'm in
Anthony.
charge of the slides. I'm in charge of the slides. Okay.
No, no. Hey, you said this was my show. I run this shit.
All right.
I.
Hold on. If this how you're gonna do me, then fine. We will just have to keep bringing up certain things that I know you don't want to bring up. Okay. With
What thing?
Nancy. Man, guys. Nancy, she's pretty, right? But the best part of her is her aerial view. It's like like
I'll let you take over there. Don't. Oh, you're mean.
really? I mean,
You won't even be able to find it. You won't even find that photo.
I find something very similar. Look at that. That is like a huge gap. Like guys, this is my gap. My gap is very, very small. And you can see it from like far away, man. Look at that. Look at that fucking split right here. So stop for her. You should stop pulling her hair this way because that actually makes it worse. I'm just trying to help her. Trying to help a homegirl out right now. She covers it and has so much fun. Look at this, man. Like, look at that. The split is like so obvious. Like a pretty white spot right here.
You leave her alone. You leave her alone.
You're the one who showed me. Like, you're literally, I didn't find this. I'm like, oh, I don't care.
Yeah, well, I have one too. I just cover it up well, so don't hate on us, okay?
She's not stupid.
Don't
She's
hate on
stupid. She's like literally like that. Okay. You're welcome. Love you. I love you.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
No,
we harp on each other all the time.
no love lover. Never forget. Never forget.
Everybody else don't know that. Everybody's like, this 2016.
Okay, well, I think that wraps up our breakdown of the Bantamweight division. Oh, this was so much fun. My seat is like soaking wet. Don't ask me why, but hopefully we can do this again a year from now or 6 months from now to see where the Bantamweight division ends up.
Can we do our 6-month anniversary like that? Half a year.
Okay. Thank everybody for watching.
Yeah,
I'll see you next time. And fine. I'll let you host the next one just because I'm nice. I'll let you host the next one.
You'll regret this.
Oh, damn it. Okay. Actually, well, you can host the one on Saturday.
No, I think
If you
I'm gonna host the pay-per-view.
No, but I always do my impressive promos for the pay-per-view.
Babe, this is our bet.
That's what brings in the viewers. That brings in the viewers.
We are going to host it together, but you will let me have part of the control for the slides. Like you can.
Okay, fine.
100%. Have
Okay,
some
no,
of the,
okay,
this
fine.
to be
How
the
about
world to
you
me. You're
control?
all that. Okay.
I'll let you make the slides, but I just want to be able to play my promo.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
So I just don't know if it will let me have control if I don't host it.
No, you host
Like
it,
to show the promo.
we'll make the slides and then I'll bring the slides and be like, here, I need you to put these on slides, kind of thing. We will have to.
Fine.
Agreement,
All right,
okay?
fine. And I cannot protest your slides. I can let you put whatever you want. That's the deal. Okay. Okay.
Oh, I can't wait. Actually, if I win. Oh, if I win, we're doing this live.
No, what? No.
Come
no.
on, we need to prove.
No.
Everybody
People are gonna be like, what? People go into our stream to see MMA. Like we're like totally. They don't care about us and like this situation.
I think they care. I think 1,700 cared about us. Like last
time. They tuned in to hear us talk about the fights, not to hear us talk about my celebrity crushes.
That's fine. We'll have the stream going on still.
No, we're gonna have a lot of viewers. We had 1,700. I would not let 1,700 people see me do that. No. I'm already letting you host it.
2 minutes of it, because I need a little bit of proof out there. in general. Because you, Mister, my love, you always bring up the Cody thing. Well, you know what? I need something to keep for sakes, and this will always be there. Okay, this tree will always be there. So I am going to have that. Just play a little bit, okay? It's only fair.
Fine, just a little bit.
You
Just a
tease me
little
all the
bit.
time with that one. So you know what? I need to like get back my vengeance if I were to win this bet. Only fair.
Just a little bit.
Alright, everybody.
Okay.
We are going to finish our 2-month anniversary. And y'all tune in on Saturday because we are going to cover Edgar versus Munoz, and that is happening at 8:30 Eastern for the main card. So you can see us on Saturday.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye.